I'm Bret Barron, and you're watching City Talk. I'm joined again with the City Manager of Bastrop, Mike Talbot. Mike, thanks again for joining us.
You bet, Brett.
Now, this is actually our third episode so far, and Mike's having so much fun that I think we're going to be able to see him again on our future episodes.
You bet.
We want to get some feedback from anyone at home that's watching these. So if you have a question or a topic you'd like for us to discuss on any episodes in the future, send us an email at citytalkbastrop@gmail.com. We've actually got a couple of questions from some viewers from our last episode.
Great.
There's two questions that really stood out to cover some of the topics that we had actually talked about last episode. One was from Jennifer V., who wanted to ask, what business would Mike want to come to Bastrop that isn't here yet?
Well, that's a good question. I guess a Target or a Kohl's, that's just based upon the surveys that we've done, and the people have expressed an interest that they'd like to see here in Bastrop. And so I think that would fulfill what the citizens have asked us to go after and try to recruit here for the city.
I would guess a follow-up question Jennifer might be thinking of is there any plans to go out and recruit them yet? Or
we've actually talked to them or their representatives. Each corporate retailer has their own approach in how they pick a community, and so we have to adjust accordingly. But we certainly have made overtures to them. What we found is most of the bigger retailers are just not building the number of stores as they did 4 or 5 years ago. So getting the academy is really a tremendous asset to the city because there's only going to be, I think, 4 or 5 academies built in Texas this year.
That'd be pretty awesome to have those. I think there's a lot of people out there who would agree, rather than driving outside of Bastrop, to have something like those particular stores in town would be pretty cool. So Jennifer, there you go. Adam B. had a question. We talked a little bit about the water conservation efforts for Bastrop and the future of Bastrop's water sources, but he wanted to ask, what are some future water conservation methods that people in Bastrop should start implementing now?
Well, I think the very basic things like check your commodes. That's always a very good source of leaks that people don't detect, and they can consume a lot of water and not realize it. Your outside hose faucets, make sure you turn them off when you're done sprinkling. Again, that's just a standard thing, but you'd be surprised how many people have said, oh my goodness, my water bill's high this month, and it's because I left my water faucet on. And just check your plumbing fixtures to make sure they're operating correctly. And as people can afford it, the plumbing fixtures that they're coming out with today use a tremendous amount less water than the older fixtures did. My dad was a plumber, and I grew up in the plumbing business.
Right.
And I'm amazed at how little water a commode uses today to flush. That's what we're seeing in a lot of communities to try to encourage people to start switching over to water conservation type fixtures as they can afford it.
Adam, there you go. You heard it straight from the City Manager of Bastrop. Check your toilet, make sure that everything's up to code, everything's not leaking. From our discussion last episode, the water source for Bastrop isn't necessarily going anywhere yet, so not necessarily take extreme measures yet.
No, we've been very good, and actually our overall per capita consumption is a little below last year at this time, and that's been extremely helpful. I was very thankful for the rain yesterday, but prior to that rain, it was 30-plus days with no rain, and normally in April is one of our rainiest months here in Texas, and I was getting concerned, but our water production was pretty much at a steady between 1.2 million gallons a day to 1.4.
Well, Adam, there you go. Again, if anyone else has questions that you'd like for Mike or just any topics you'd like to throw out here for next episodes, send us an email. First, we're going to talk about this sidewalk project.
Yes.
Some renovations up. I'm going to hand the floor off to you. Tell us about that.
This project is being funded by the Bastrop Economic Development Corporation, which I think demonstrates the Economic Development Corporation's commitment to the community and reinvesting back in the community. The current budget for this project is $800,000, and we're going to start just a little bit south of the Wells Fargo Bank on Main Street.
Okay.
And from there to Spring Street, we're going to completely remove the sidewalks and the entire street and put back new sidewalks and new streets. We'll do it in 4 phases, and then we'll reconstruct the street from Spring Street to Farm Street on Main Street. It's going to be about a 6 to 8 month project total construction time. We had a meeting with the downtown owners Monday morning to get some of their input and feedback. Went into much more detail than we have time today, but they made some good suggestions. But we're going to try to have the contractor work at night. We're going to try to do the project in segments to minimize the impact on the stores. And we're going to try to keep one lane of traffic open all the time so that, again, there's accessibility. And we'll be coordinated with a contractor, but we'll either do the north side first and then flip over and do the south side and then complete the project.
Very
so
good.
I'm really excited. This is the 4th downtown project I've been involved in. I will tell you, it's not easy. There's a lot of things that you find, and we're really want to do it right and beautify the community, and we're thankful for the Economic Development Corporation's funding of this project, and we just want to do it right and support the merchants in the downtown.
Well, the Main Street's only been there for hundreds of years, so I couldn't imagine that it's an easy process to have to replace something.
No, it's not.
It's been around
like I said, I guess it's been my good fortune to have done other sidewalk projects, and you just run into things that you just don't think about. Old pipes are found and you don't know where they go. Sidewalks are tied into the building, so you got to do special concrete work, and there's just a plethora of things that'll come up, but it'll be a great addition to the downtown. We're committed to working with the merchants. The city's role is just to administer and oversee the construction, and we look forward to the challenge. Our kickoff date is January the 1st, 2015, and many people say, well, why are you waiting so long? We just completed a survey of the downtown, and the sidewalks in downtown Bastrop on Main Street are actually half private property and half public property. So we have to work with the property owners to obtain easements for the portion that's on private to replace, and that's going to take several months to get that process done. Once that's done, we'll move into finishing up the design and kick off construction hopefully in January.
Okay, so you can look forward to some new sidewalks in downtown Main Street. We need to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We might have some other questions on this, but then we'll be getting into the next topics. Don't go anywhere. You're watching City Talk.
The Colorado River runs past pine-covered hills and beautiful ranch pasture. You could catch a kayak or tube down the river. Find golf courses tucked back in our Lost Pine Forest. There is even an all-access trail that leads to Bastrop's Riverwalk, so everyone can enjoy the natural beauty of Bastrop County, an authentic Texas experience.
Welcome back to City Talk. I'm Bret Barron with City Manager of Bastrop, Mike Talbot. We just finished talking about the Main Street Sidewalk Project.
Yes.
We were talking a little bit during the break about how some businesses may not necessarily have access to their stores or maybe be just out of place for a day or two at a time during the construction.
That's right.
Since this isn't the first time you've done this, typically what can business owners or even citizens expect when they're going down to Main Street during this process?
Well, of course, with any type of construction of this magnitude, there's going to be disruption, and that does create a sense of confusion. And so to be alert and be paying attention when you're driving in the downtown. Secondly, as you mentioned from experience, we try to minimize as much as possible, but on average, we're going to try to plan that a store access will be no more than 1 or 2 days. That's pouring back the new concrete. And thirdly, some parking is going to be displaced, so we're going to be adding some additional parking, most likely in back at Alley D, to offset the parking that will be disrupted during the construction. I think if we can tackle those issues and do the construction at night so that we can put planking down in the morning so people have access to their stores, I think that'll go a long ways in reducing down inconvenience for the businesses, and then come back at night and go back to work.
And I would expect a lot of these business owners are excited about this, although maybe a little disruption, but what a return on the investment to have a brand new sidewalk for customers to walk into their stores.
Yes, again, it is a disruption, and again, we understand that. We understand it going in right up front, and we're trying to phase it and design it and construct it in a manner that keeps it to a bare minimum, but I have to stress, there will be some disruption.
I'm sure it's going to look great once it's all completed and done with, and I'm sure a lot of people would be looking forward to seeing new sidewalks out there too.
You bet.
The next topic we're going to talk about is something called the Automated Metering Information Systems. And I'm going to hand this over to you because you're the expert on this subject, and I might have a question about it, but tell us a little bit about this.
Okay, well, this is new technology that's being introduced to many cities across the United States. Many cities in Texas have already implemented it, but it's reading your water meter and your electric meter remotely. It will be sending signals back to City Hall, so there will no longer be need for the meter readers to go out and walk the routes. That'll be done away with. The technology has reached a stage where it is really dynamic. Let's just say, Brent, that you're a customer that uses 7,000 gallons of water a month. And all of a sudden we see a spike in your consumption. Your account will come up on a computer screen, and we'll call you and say, just wanted to let you know that your water consumption seems higher than normal. Just wanted to let you know that. And that'll give people a heads up, and if they've got a leak, they can get it fixed, and we're conserving water. Secondly, it is a water conservation approach. With new state-of-the-art meters, we will now be more accurate in the readings of that, and we project that our water loss will go down about 5%. And if you want to come into City Hall and discuss your account, we'll be able to bring your account up on screen and look at every day how much water you used or how much electricity you used. And this is just stage one. We're putting the technology and the platforms in that we someday can go to capabilities of, you've seen on television where people have got their iPhone and they're locking their house up and shutting the lights off and doing all that stuff. This is phase one of that, and we'll see how successful it is, but we're really excited. The staff has worked extremely hard. We've put many, many hours in over the last couple of years putting this together, and we'll be recommending to the City Council on May the 27th the most qualified bidder that we have come up with, and we'll look forward with great expectations that the Council accepts our recommendation and kick this project off. It'll take about a year from start to finish. One last thing I want to point out, it's also going to detect water leaks on the city water mains and notify us. Again, getting those leaks fixed quicker saves water. So there's a lot of components built into it, but that's a very quick synopsis of what we're going to be doing.
So after it gets passed by the City Council, or after they approve it,
right,
then you can expect for it to start going into development?
Well, the first phase will be just getting the contract signed and getting the performance bonds posted and all the things that are required of a contract for the city. That usually takes about 30 days. Then we'll have a pre-construction conference, and we'll lay out how we're going to sequence and schedule the project with the contractor. And then he'll start. And then after that, it'll be about 11 to 12 months from start to finish. From the proposals, the first phase will be putting in the infrastructure and the platform for doing the reading, and then the second phase will be the actual replacement of the meters. And it appears that the vendor that we've selected will replace the meters by our existing routes. We have about 14 routes that we currently have established, and what we'll do is replace all the meters on that one route, Route 1, bring it up, make sure it's operational, then we'll move on to Route 2.
Okay, so like a beta testing of this technology before it's released to the other routes, I guess.
Yes, we will make sure it's all functional and it's doing what it's supposed to do. In our specifications, requested a 2-year warranty on everything because this is new technology. The lifetime of the water meter is 20 years, and for someone who grew up in the plumbing business and been in city government, the average life of a water meter is about 7 to 8 years, and I'm sitting there, wow, it's really changed. 20 years is quite a expansion of time for a water meter, and they don't even look like what a water meter looked like when I got into the plumbing business.
I bet they've changed a little bit.
Quite a lot.
So what are some benefits that a citizen or someone from Bastrop could receive from this type of technology being implemented?
Well, first, they're going to get, I think, very accurate readings of their usage, and so that'll help them able to control the use of both water and electric. Secondly, I think it's going to enhance our capabilities on customer service, especially if a customer is out of kilter with what normally should be happening. It's nothing more. We'll have someone picking up the phone, calling them and saying, hey, again, we think it doesn't check with what you normally are doing at your house. Just wanted to let you know. And thirdly, the ability to detect water leaks on our water mains before it bubbles up on the ground and creates a big crevice in the middle of the street is a proactive approach in repairing a water main rather than getting that big hole in the street and wasting thousands of gallons of water that could have been caught very quickly with this technology.
Yeah, we like to avoid those holes in the street when we can.
Right.
So you've talked a little bit about timeline, but just as a ballpark estimation, if you could say when this is actually going to be implemented.
We would probably, after the May 27th council meeting, the month of June will be administrative time, just putting the paperwork together. Kickoff time around mid-July. So I would say by June of next year we'll be fully automated and operational.
Who gets to decide which route is the first one that gets tested?
That'll be discussed between the staff, myself, and the contractor. We just want to make sure that the contractor is efficient. In talking with other cities that have implemented this program, what we don't want to see is jumping here and jumping there. Let's get one part up and get it operational, and then let's move on to the second. Now, how he wants or they want to sequence that, we'll let them determine that, but we don't want to see a lot of jumping around because then you lose track. Because there's a lot of meters out there, especially the water side, that we're going to find some things we hadn't anticipated because of the age of some of our infrastructure. So there's going to be some interesting issues that will arise through the meter replacement program that we'll have to address.
We're going to get new sidewalks on Main Street. We're going to get an automated information for measuring the water that we're using to save water and be able to measure how much water we're actually using, which is probably going to help out with our water management resources in the future.
Absolutely.
I'm starting to put all these pieces together.
Yes, and it's all really kind of built around our water supply because we're going to be networking what we're producing at our wells into the city, so I will know on a daily basis how much is coming out of the wells, how much is going into the city system, what the differential is. A very time-sensitive data that I currently get that's 48 to 72 hours before I get it, and I certainly don't have the ability to determine where leaks are going to be.
That's
right
exciting.
Yeah.
A lot of really cool stuff coming to Bastrop.
It really is.
I can remember the grand opening of the Walmart in town, and we've come a long way from what's coming new to Bastrop now.
Believe it or not, I was city manager when that store opened.
Were you really?
Yes, I was. That was my first time here.
Well, I wasn't employed yet. I was in 4th grade.
Well, that ages me a little bit. I should keep my mouth shut.
Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. We've got to try and stump Mike with some Elvis Presley trivia. You didn't know, he is a self-proclaimed Elvis fanatic. I think I almost stumped him last week. We've got some good questions. Play along at home. We've also got some other items to talk about when we come back, but come back with us here in a few minutes. You're watching City Talk.
In Bastrop, there's so much to see and do, you just have to take a few days to take it all in. In Bastrop,
you can be a big splash. Or you can just come out to the Hyatt and horse around.
Or you could take a long drive through Bastrop County. Or a short one.
Or it just gets better around.
You can get hooked up on real fish stories.
Bastrop is a kaleidoscope of activities including the arts, camping, living history, nightly entertainment, and fun. There's always something going on.
so didn't I tell you that Bastrop was the place to be? Come, stay, and play the Bastrop way.
Welcome back to City Talk. I'm Bret Barron with City Manager of Bastrop, Mike Talbot. This is a segment that we're going to try and stump Mike with Elvis Presley trivia. So, Mike, are you ready for your questions for the day?
Well, I'm in the hot seat, so I guess so.
All right, first question. Elvis only performed 2 concerts outside the U.S. In which country did he perform both of these concerts? Was it A, Mexico, B, Canada, C, Cuba, or D, China?
Canada.
Absolutely. Did you guys get it home? Get it at home? Yes? Very good. Let's go to the next question. You're 1 for 1 so far.
All right.
Keep this up. Elvis earned his black belt in karate in what year? Did you know that Elvis had a black belt?
Yes, I
in
did.
karate?
He was a very avid karate enthusiast and practiced it quite a lot. I believe.
Do you want to hear your multiple choice questions, or do you want to try and give this a shot?
I'm going to try to give it a shot. I believe it was right after he got out of the military in 1960.
Heck yes. Way to go. I'm impressed. That's impressive. Very good. So much for trying to stump Mike today. I think this next question is a softball one. Props to you guys at home if you were able to get that right. Third question, see if you can go 3 for 3. Elvis had a twin brother who died within 6 hours of his birth. What was his name? Was it A, Aaron Elvis Presley, B, Jesse Garon Presley, C, Ken Aaron Presley, or D, Merlin James Presley?
Jesse Garrett.
Very good. It was B for you guys at home that were playing, and once again, Mike has gone 3 for 3 with his Elvis Presley. Give us a fact that most people don't know about Elvis that you feel like is more interesting.
Well, I think it's interesting. We don't realize it, but in the early years and when he went back on tour in 1969, Elvis toured more in Texas than any state in the United States.
Is that right?
Yes, he had more tours, or did more tours here in cities in Texas than any other state in the United States. And I thought that was an interesting trivia fact for our Texans.
That is pretty interesting. Well, there you go. Mike gets it 3 for 3 again, 100%.
Well, thank you.
It's a pretty interesting fact about Elvis, too. I'm sure a lot of people at home didn't know that. But we have some other things that I wanted to talk about. One is the recent elections for Bastrop. So Mayor Orr is stepping down.
Well, actually, he's what we call term. We have term limits.
That's right.
And he's reached his term limit. So he didn't have an option. He had to step down, but he was a great mayor to work with. I've worked with a lot of mayors over the years, and we had a wonderful relationship. And he's now attending the University of Texas. Come to find out, my son's in one of his classes.
Is that right?
And my son calls me and says, "Dad, I got the mayor here with me." I says, "Well, good. Keep watch on him."
He can call former mayor Orr for help getting that homework in time.
That's right.
Before it's due in class.
And I know when he's in trouble too.
Exactly.
Right.
If you see Mayor-elect Kesselis, let him know he's invited to come on the show.
Okay.
Anytime he wants.
Good. We'll try to get him in here and see who can out-talk who here.
We'll give him a shot at Elvis Presley trivia and
That's
see
right.
if he can stand toe-to-toe with you.
I like that, Brent. That's great.
So aside with the elections, we've got some other projects coming up for Bastrop.
Yeah, we're about to kick off our fiscal year 14 street program. Last Tuesday night at the council meeting, we awarded the reconstruction of Hassler Street between the State Highway 71 Service Road and Old Austin Highway. That's between HEB and First National Bank. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a really tough project because of the traffic, but that road is in pretty bad condition and does need to be replaced because of the amount of traffic it's having. We'll be going out for bids in a couple of weeks for Chamber Street over here in front of the high school, from Hawthorne to Cedar Street, and that'll be a complete reconstruction. And then the city crews will be working out at Hunter's Crossing on Javelina Boulevard and some seal coating on various locations out there. We'll also be repairing Juniper Street from Carter to Wilson, Oak Street from Wilson to Carter, and Persimmons from Carter to Wilson, and PJ Cove, we've got to redo the entryways. So
There's a ton of improvements going in.
yes, we are committed to upgrading our infrastructure, and the council's been very supportive of that, and we're trying to be responsive to what the council's asked us to do.
That's a ton of improvements along with everything else we've talked about. Sounds like there's quite a bit going on in Bastrop as far as what's going to be new in the future.
Yes, it's keeping us busy.
We need to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about TxDOT, or Texas Department of Transportation's recent proposal for some improvements going on with Highway 71. We'll be right back.
Howdy, y'all. I may look like a lonesome cowboy, but not for long, 'cause I'm heading for Upstart's Off-Kilter Film Festival at the Lost Pines 8 Movie Theater in Bastrop, Texas. This is Upstart's 5th Off-Kilter Fest and the 2nd at the Lost Pines. On November 13th, we'll be showing a whole bunch of really funny short movies about holidays, vacations, and relationships gone awry. This was last year's audience favorite, Christmas Reunion. After the movies, there'll be a panel of Texas filmmakers talking about things that have gone awry while making movies. Last year, 3 of our local professional actors talked about their funny experiences, and the audiences loved it. Then we all went to the awards ceremony and a real fine catered party that the Lost Pine staff put on for us. I can't wait for the one they'll have this year. On November 14th, the filmmakers are hanging around to conduct workshops at the local high schools. This is a new addition to the festival and a real gift to the community.
I'm Hank Nations, board member with Upstart. I want to thank everyone for attending this year's Off Kilter Christmas Film Fest. It was a wonderful success, and we're so happy that everyone enjoyed it, and we are looking forward to having a repeat performance next year. Thank you.
Upstart hopes that local businesses will take advantage of this great opportunity to get lots of publicity while helping to keep Bastrop laughing and learning, and your donations are tax deductible. Y'all come back now here.
Welcome back to City Talk. I'm Bret Barron with City Manager of Bastrop, Mike Talbot. We've talked about a lot of interesting topics tonight, but we have some more information to share with you guys about some improvements going on Highway 71 in the future. Mike, you had mentioned that TxDOT, or Texas Department of Transportation, had recently made a proposal for some improvements on Highway 71. Is that right?
We meet with TxDOT once a month, and we've started that because back in January they began discussing with us some proposed improvements on State Highway 71. And at our meeting a couple of weeks ago, they gave us some very more specific status of the improvements. And so at the council meeting last night, I included that in my city manager's report to the council, one for the council's information and for the citizens to be updated as to what will be happening on 71. At this point, it appears they've changed from January from an east-west approach of making improvements to a west-east approach. The first line of improvements will be at Teeshan Village. There will be an overpass constructed at Teeshan Village entrance. That is scheduled to go out for bid from the Texas Department of Transportation in August of this year. And so that would be construction around November, December timeframe, maybe early January. And then in 2015, according to the area engineer, late 2015, they will proceed with another overpass at the intersection of State Highway 71 and 95. And that'll be about a year-long project with reconfiguring the intersection and the overpass and the traffic patterns. And then the third phase of the improvements will come sometime in 2016, and that will be the construction of service roads from 71 and 95 westward all the way from there to across the river and tying in on Childers Street, service roads on both sides of 71. What has not been determined at this point is whether the service roads will be done all as one project or in 2 phases, and that's going to be predicated upon the amount of funding that this area receives. But it looks like for the next 3 years we're going to see a continuous construction going on out on 71 based upon our most recent meeting with Mr. Dill, and was very excited to hear that. We're seeing a lot of increase in traffic, and very welcome news to hear that from TxDOT last week.
I remember the first overpass project that on Highway 71 and getting to drive around that construction for a while, but what a difference it makes as
Yes.
far as driving through town. And I bet for all those people who are waiting at that 71 and 95 light, it's going to be a lot easier to get in and pass through there without necessarily having to sit in traffic for such a long time.
Right. Well, we also got to do a little signage, what we call wayfinding, because we do what we call wayfinding.
Wayfinding, okay.
Yeah, it's a kind of a term because we don't want people to bypass our community. We want them to pull off and enjoy the amenities of our city, and we're developing some thoughts along expanding upon the wayfinding signage that we had put up a couple of years ago, so people know the strategic places and how to get there and things like that.
Very good. So if they're driving through town, they'll still have an opportunity to stop and spend some time in Bastrop.
Yes, there's going to be various access ramps. Some have been preliminary designated, but there's still design work going on. And that's why we're meeting with them on a monthly basis so we can stay up to date on that and how all that's going to tie together. The overpasses are pretty straightforward. I think the real challenge will be when we start putting the service roads in, how they will fit with the existing service roads and streets and how they're all tied in. So I'm glad that's going to be to the end so we can kind of see how traffic is transversing and how all that'll fit together. These improvements are greatly needed, and it will increase accessibility in and around the community, and that's important from an emergency management standpoint for our police officers to respond, our fire department, and just generally getting in and around the city. So again, we're just excited that TxDOT understands some of the issues we're confronted with, and we're committed to working with them and being part of this project, and again, improving transportation in our community.
If anyone at home has questions about any improvements or any topics that we've talked about today, send us an email to citytalkbastrop@gmail.com. I think that's going to be it for us tonight.
Great.
Thanks again for being here.
It's an honor. Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thanks again for stopping by and watching City Talk.